The most recent livestream detailing the last update for the Nod Cry era came with a lot of exciting news. Sandrone is joining the playable cast, we get to explore on the moon, and wait a minute. We're getting a skip button? When I first heard the news, I began scratching my head wondering if I watched the same livestream that everyone else just did. Why were so many people celebrating a skip button that we weren't getting? Here, see for yourself.
Alright, here's another piece of good news, and it has to do with the quest dialogue experience. I'm sure we've all tried to speed up the pace of a quest before by clicking through the dialogue, but most of the time you have to wait for a set transition time to pass or for certain animations to play out before the next line can play. With the habits of different travelers in mind, the devs have decided to change this going forward. Starting in Luna 8, travelers can choose to no longer wait to advance dialogue. A single click can immediately move to the next line. Basically, the pacing of dialogue progression is now something you can control.
The skip button has been a long time request from all sorts of players, but that is not what was just announced. Instead, we got a skip dialogue feature that lets us brute force through scenes without having to wait for the full animations to play through to continue the story. I believe the livestream was pretty clear about this. This isn't a skip button. I don't know how players saw this livestream and ran to celebrate a feature that they are not getting. Is this better than nothing? Absolutely, but this is why I say that Hoyoverse loves to take one step forward and 3 steps backwards. They've acknowledged the desire for a skip button, but they will only solve part of the problem. There are other titles like Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero have this feature, and ZZZ will even give you a quick summary of the dialogue you are about to skip if you want the Cliff Notes version. This has been such an interesting debate online. I've seen so many players beg for a skip button, but I've also seen some players be against having one. One of the biggest arguments I see for those against this feature is the understanding of the lore, and the story will get worse or worsen. There's already plenty of jokes about reading comprehension being non-existent with Genshin players, and some don't want content creators to start relaying misinformation surrounding the story. I'm sorry, but players who are not interested in the game's lore won't suddenly start to care about it just because they are forced to let every line of the dialogue play out. This is one of those rare situations where I'm confident in saying that the developers are deliberately not adding this feature. If players can skip dialogue, then there's a good chance they will spend less time on the game because, well, they aren't forced to listen to a story that they don't care about. This directly affects their player retention statistics, and they don't want to take a hit there. 2 Genshin players I happen to know really well are actually both of my parents. Yes, my parents are cool enough to play Genshin Impact with me. We spend our Rosen together as a family, and it's pretty fun. My dad engages with the lore, but sometimes finds the limited events annoying. He would probably benefit from a skip button for those limited events he's not super keen about, but I know he would tune into the main Archon quests. My mother, on the other hand, does not give a flying crap about the lore. She's mainly playing because she loves the exploration that this world has to offer. I actually see her on Miliastra too, imagine that. She's been obsessed with this cookie management simulator and has like 20 million cookies. Actually, I was incorrect here. I got a photo of her laptop screen. She actually has 20 trillion cookies. I'm not joking. A skip button would be a huge benefit for players like my mom, and I've actually heard her smacking her spacebar just trying to get through the dialogue faster. Meanwhile, I'm someone who's invested in the story of Genshin Impact and probably would not use a skip button very often. Even if I wouldn't use this feature very much, getting a skip button wouldn't change my personal enjoyment of the game. My experience would not change, but for players like my mom, she would get a huge quality of life boost. This is one of those features that isn't for everyone, and that's okay. You'll either use it or you won't. In most cases, having options is not a bad thing, and that's why I personally am not against adding a skip button. The social element surrounding this feature is what's really bizarre. For example, I've seen concerns about mischaracterizations of the game's characters and that they will get worse if folks continue to skip the dialogue. I can understand this sentiment to an extent, but these mischaracterizations are going to exist no matter what, regardless if a skip button exists. We already have numerous fans boiling down complex characters to a single trait and running with it. This isn't unique to Genshin either, it's been a common occurrence in fandoms over many years. If these things such as mischaracterizations, wrong retellings of the story, or fans asking for clarification about what happened of the story irritates you, it's best you just mute the involved accounts and move on. We have to remember that we are in charge of our own online experience. If we see something that we do not like, it is up to us to filter it out. But yeah, I agree seeing misinterpretations of the lore and its characters can be irritating, but it is not not worth getting worked up over. There will always be people who skip the story to a game and then complain about it online later. I promise you, your emotional bandwidth is better spent elsewhere. On YouTube, if there's a creator you don't like, next time their video appears on your homepage, you can click these 3 dots and select the Do Not Recommend Channel button. I've done it for certain creators I'm not super fond of, and if my videos start to genuinely irritate you, I encourage you to filter me out this way as well. I can also attest that this button actually works, and unless you go out of your way to search up the channel name you just blocked, their content will not appear on your homepage anymore. Other social media sites have mute or block buttons like Twitter, where you can filter out not just accounts, but specific phrases and words. While Twitter's filters aren't perfect, it will still filter out a lot of the gunk. So that brings me to the title of this video. Does Genshin need a skip button? I'm going to say yes. There are other games have it, and if this button improves the gaming experience for a whole category of players, then yes, add it. It's been a long time wishlist item for people. In fact, I know some players who would have a better time playing the game if a skip button is added. Some would even come back to playing Genshin again if this was available. I know Genshin Impact is a story-driven title, but I assure you there are plenty of people who simply do not care. Them existing and wanting a skip button isn't going to make my experience with the game any worse. In fact, I recently hosted a poll asking if you guys would be interested if I made a brand new account to see how Genshin feels 6 years into development with so much content readily available. There are players who have multiple accounts, and having a skip button means they can spend more time engaging with the game in the way that they want, rather than sitting through so many unskippable cutscenes they've already witnessed once before. Having the choice to skip dialogue is a welcome one in scenarios such as these. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and consider subscribing. I definitely want to know what you think about the skip button. Do you think it should be added like I do, or are you against the skip button feature? Personally, I think the drama surrounding it is a little stupid. Let me know, just keep it respectful in the comments. If you like gacha content, I have plenty of other videos you can take your pick from and watch next. And lastly, real quick, I made a post about this a few days ago. I am in the process of drawing the winner's characters from my 10K subscriber event. I appreciate everyone's patience, and after the characters are drawn, I'll be putting together the video and then giving out the prizes afterwards. So I hope you look forward to that, and I hope to see you in the next video.